Hello, everybody.
And hello to you all as well from me.
All right. So, with that, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mikestand. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2022. So, we've reached, of course, middle of the week, affectionately known at times as Hump Day, the whole idea of getting over the hump. And look, we have Elk here, of course, under his new name, I guess, the Parasocial Audience. Hail, Xenu and Xena. All right. All right. So, Rick, how'd your day go today?
Pretty good. I went out, fed my friend's cat while they're away, although they should be coming. I'm not sure whether they were supposed to be back later today or tomorrow. Went out to a Bible study and then over to my church to help them set up a games room for so we can have games night or maybe have people just come by anytime during the week, possibly to play games like foosball or air hockey. Um, then came back here and went for dinner that they have downstairs on in the church. That's the apartment building is above that they have every Wednesday, and actually attended a Bible study there too. So, and then of course played some Minecraft and you know waited for um, you to come on. So,
All right. Well, Paris Elk is asking, what games do you play?
well, as I said, they've had games night before. They're trying to set up a downstairs room just to do it a little bit better. We've played various different card games, like various Uno games, one called Wizard. There's a few others that we've played. Um, I don't think we've ever played it there, but Euchre, and there's been bunch of different games, and there's also they're thinking about getting a Xbox One has been donated for them to use as well. So
All right.
yeah, so it was a fun-filled day. And tomorrow, actually, I have an interview at phone interview at 2 p.m.
Oh, you have a job
Eastern.
interview tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah, on the phone. So
Hmm.
hopefully that goes well.
All right. Well, hopefully that goes well. I hope that goes well for you too. Let's see. Settlers of Catan, Dungeons and Dragons. Oh boy.
Well, Dungeons and Dragons definitely not. We they might be open to settlers, but I don't think it be long enough for Dungeons and Dragons session. Plus, it isn't a church. Not
Yeah.
that this church is that. I'm not
Hmm.
sure what the right word is. Legalistic about stuff like that. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
whether or not for sure, but I don't think they would be.
Well, I never got why. I guess maybe the sword and sorcery aspect of, or the sorcery aspect of it. I guess why churches would have such an issue with Dungeons and Dragons. I guess.
Well,
Uh,
unfortunately, in the 80s, there was reported that people taking it a little too far of the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, like some people that were, it was becoming their life. They couldn't really, um, for lack of the best way of saying it, uh, devise fantasy from reality.
differentiate reality from fantasy.
Hold on. Yeah, Anita?
Remember me telling you about when I was a teenager, the woman that played her character died and she went nuts in her head, she killed herself.
Oh, uh-huh. Well, there's an example if you heard that.
Something about a woman killing herself. That's about as much as I got
Yeah,
out of it.
a friend of my cousin's when she was younger, like I think in her teens,
Yeah.
apparently was into Dungeons and Dragons. Apparently, her character died in game, and the girl went a little wacky. And that, of course, a link is a channel to a link to my
Yeah.
channel. So.
Yeah, I was just about to see if you wanted to do an intro real quick before we get started.
Oh, hold on. What was that, Anita?
She went funky, nutty for about 6 months or so, and then she killed herself.
Uh, she's saying that she went, like I said, a little messed up, and then apparently killed herself about 6 months later. So, um, what was I going to say?
Well,
Oh
I
yeah,
was gonna suggest
yeah. That's
you
my.
to plug
This
your
is
channel.
yeah. This is my link to my channel. And for those that are here that don't know me, if you'd like to, if you can, go check out my channel. If you like what you see, subscribe. I like my videos and all that. So
All right, so let's the pair. That was a chic tract.
check.
No, I think that it's pronounced that spelling is pronounced chic.
It's supposed to be chick. He misspelt it or whatever. I know exactly what he's talking about. So
Okay. Well, because in that with that spelling is cheat. Well, CHIC also is the word. Like, does he
yeah,
mean CHICK? Is that what he's trying to say? Like,
yeah. That's probably more what he's trying to say. You forgot
all
the
right,
K, or maybe
the
that's the
cheat just
or
simply means like
either
kind of fancy.
yeah, either that or that's the way he thought it was spelled, but I know what he's trying to say.
All right. It created an urban legend. I try to watch your videos silently while I work.
Well, thank you, Elk.
All right. Well, with that being said, how we're already past the 7 minute mark here. So here's what's on tap for tonight. I've got just one article that we're to go over tonight from Bounding into Comics. But from what I saw, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a lengthy article, so I think it will take up the majority of the
Our time.
of our time. And then of course we got the resident wrap up and this day in each history as well. So anyways, the article will be. In fact, I might as well just pull it up because we'll get right into that. As it were. All right, so 5 ideas for revivals Disney Plus can make following X-Men 97, in parentheses here, in a perfect world. Article by J.B. Augustine, published May 22nd, published today, May 22nd, 2024. Of course, I guess because of the fact X-Men 97 was considered somewhat more of a success, people actually liked it. And from what
Yeah,
I understand, they weren't pushing as hard on the woke stuff as people initially thought they were going to. So at least some
yeah.
credit to them, I guess, is deserved for them.
Elk says, "Is it on an AVG article?" Unfortunately, not.
No. This is Avi writes for Bleeding Fool.
Fool.
So yeah, Bleeding Fool. So Bleeding Fool is Chris Braley's site. Bleeding Cool is Rich Johnson's site. So just so no. Anyways, and I'm coming in all right, Rick?
Yeah, yeah. To me, you are, anyways.
All right. Because I'm seeing the little thing, okay, it just cleared out now. Oh, well, great. Anyways, I don't like it when I see it because there's a little box that sometimes comes up on my StreamYard that tells me that the signal might be weak or something like that. So, but
Yeah.
if I'm coming in all right, then I guess I can ignore that. But anyways, so why don't we go ahead and get into the article here? Hopefully that will.
Elk says, "I think Avi is a precious teenager, or either precious or precocious." Take your pick.
Yeah. It probably should be precocious, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, I think he's trying to say precocious. So, anyways, all right. So with that, 5 ideas for revivals Disney Plus can make following X-Men 97, in parentheses here, in a perfect world, by J.B. Augustine, published May 22nd, 2024. Okay.
Well, we
So-
we know one that's going to be on this list, of course, is the Spider-Man.
Maybe I did preview. I actually don't think the Spider-Man one was on here. It was not one of the ones listed.
Okay.
Connection is unstable if you are on Wi-Fi. Okay, but anyways,
I went over to YouTube, and you seem to be coming in clear on YouTube. Nothing
all right,
shows.
all right. So I don't know why it's doing that then. Okay, well, as long as it seems that way, then that should be fine. And it looks like there's nothing because I'm looking over at my TV now. All right, let me just check one more quick thing here. Yeah, everything looks fine. So okay, and that now it's no longer
Yeah.
no longer having it. So probably
I was just going to say, obviously, we don't want the issues, but if anything comes up, usually the chat will tell us. So,
yeah.
and I'm keeping an eye on the chat. So,
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, X-Men 97 is in the bag. And one of the most striking things about the nostalgia bait series is how paradoxical it is in actuality. For instance, while it has some good reviews, the show did very poorly in the ratings. And then you look here, I guess this is Flash Thompson, Peter Parker,
yeah.
and Mary Jane Watson watch on as X-Men attempt to stop Asteroid M and X-Men 97, episode 10, Tolerance is Freedom. But and look, the designs from the 90s designs are right there.
Yeah.
Will you have to say something?
Yeah, I was thinking of something, but about it. Yeah, it did pretty good. I know what about the ratings. Unfortunately, yeah, it had good. It was a good show, but unfortunately, all the backlash beforehand probably made a lot of people not watch it because a lot of the people that would have had the nostalgia feelings and wanted to watch it probably got what's the word?
Well, there may have been people who heard some of the stuff that Bo DeMaio was saying there about how they were going to push certain agendas there. And
yeah, and that probably
one commentator outright said, "Don't even bother watching this show." And
yeah.
Now I know Yellow Flash. He actually did watch it, and
Hello, you back?
yeah, did I?
Or am I back?
Did
I'm
I
not
just?
sure.
Yeah,
Maybe, or I'm not sure whether it was you or me.
it was probably me because my thing keeps saying I'm gonna try to go out and come back in. So I'll be right back. All right.
You froze mentioning the Flash or Flash Thompson. Okay, he said he's going out and coming back in, but hasn't even went out technically. He's okay. Now he's gone out. I'm taking over the show. It's now the Mikestand with Cross Comics.
All right. Let's see now. So I'm back now. And
My
thus far,
plans have been thwarted. No
I don't
longer the Mikestand with Cross Comics.
yeah. Anyways, sorry about that, folks. Sometimes the connection issues come up, but I guess it was on my end. But from the looks of it, at least, it looks like everything's okay now. I don't see the. Sometimes what will happen with this is that and I don't know if you've seen it before, Rick, but when you on the StreamYard screen, in between where it says live and the view count right there, sometimes they'll come up. There'll be another little box that comes up where it looks like there's the kind of signal thing, and then
Yeah,
if it is a weaker signal, whatever, they'll usually indicate, weak signal. So, but
yeah,
that doesn't look like it's happening now. So maybe I just needed to go out and come back in. So, anyways,
yeah.
let's get
So
back.
Elk said you froze while mentioning Flash Thompson. And I was saying, yeah, about the reviews before it came out. We'll say, drove people away, from watching it most likely. So that's probably the reason for the poor ratings. I
Mm-hmm.
would say because most, except for like about two instances in the whole series, it
Mm-hmm.
was good. And even with those two instances, it was still good. They just
Right.
like,
And as of course we were talking about, what was it, the other day when we were talking about it, I think one of the things that, in that final episode there was a whole scene where, you know, Morph, confessed his feelings to, to an unconscious Logan. So
yeah. And then there was a couple episodes before that where Rogue referred to Morph as them. It threw me off for a second or two. But
yeah. So anyways, let's get back into the article here. Don't think for a second, though, that will stop Disney from going full speed ahead into the possibilities both teased by the Legacy sequel and that could arise as a result of it. Almost as much as the existence of Disney Plus and the advent of streaming have the revival of the X-Men animated universe has changed things. There will continue to be a future in nostalgia programming, even if it has no more than a small but fervent audience. Naturally, this has me wondering, and maybe smoking a little hopium. I guess that little portmanteau of hope and opium,
yeah.
hopium, about what could come next. What reboots and adaptations could be in development, um, or on the list for consideration. There are quite a few possibilities that they could go in any direction.
And hello, Good Night Spoon and Sketchbook. How are you guys tonight?
Hey
And
guys.
I wouldn't say board game talk, but you missed about talk about games. My church is setting up a games room, if you will, like air hockey, foosball, probably a video game system, possibly cards and stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that was what that was about.
yeah.
And just
And
Elk
if you
was
guys,
asking,
yeah,
go
hey,
ahead.
all right. And if you guys haven't already, of course, you guys can help us out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. Also, and my schedule is saying Mike getting ready for work. Also, if anything we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. So, as we now see it, let's get ready to move on to the next part of the article here. So, aside from the obvious, such as the rumored Spider-Man idea, you could call Spider-Man '98. I know what I'd like to see from my own perspective as a junkie for '90s cartoons. Hence, I am presenting a top five list, in parentheses, loosely ranked, but in no particular order, really, unparenthesed, of revivals I wish for.
Uh,
Before I do, I want to be clear that I'm avoiding shows that weren't churned out during the relevant period or could be seen as more of the same. Therefore, Wolverine and the X-Men and Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, won't be mentioned as good as they are.
and Good Night Spoon says, I demand you go to the game night, Rick. Well, they don't have any at the moment. Hopefully, we will be having some again soon. Actually, I might be going to one tomorrow night at another church. And Elk is saying, "Do you work nights? Sketchbook?"
All right. So, anyways, I'd also like to be clear. This is a list. This list is a little wish fulfillment in a bubble on my part. Which is mean the this is JB's list. This is not general what generally is thought of. This is just his own personal idea here. I understand perfectly that any of these concepts risk being made with, in smaller quotes, modern audiences in mind and completely ruined by messaging and agendas.
Goodnight Spoon says, "I don't want to see anything in Spider-Man '98. It ended well enough. Do a
Yeah,
feature film."
I like seeing the scene of Madam Web and Spider Man sitting there like going off, and and Madam Web finally acknowledging, yeah, you deserve some happiness, and Spider Man going, amen to that, lady, amen to that.
Yeah, he says it ended well. Do a feature film to find Mary Jane, but I don't need a season that ruins the original series.
Right.
I could
If I
possibly agree with that for sure.
Yeah. If I had my way, I guarantee that would not be a problem. But as we don't live in that world for now, I simply dare to dream. And now on with it. So I don't think Spider-Man the animated series was the one they were going to talk about here, but Spider-Man Unlimited, they did actually he did actually have an idea for here, which of course
Yeah,
Reno Romano, who would later go on to voice Batman and Beware the Batman cartoon as well. Um,
yeah. So this is the one where Spidey goes to an alternate Earth and faces
right,
High Evolutionary, I believe.
right. Here we have a
For those
textbook.
that might know.
Oh yeah, here we have a textbook case of a show with a strange premise that never had a chance to find its voice or see how far it could have gone. Long story short, Spidey travels to Counter Earth to investigate a distress call from the stranded astronaut John Jameson, warning of its ruler, the High Evolutionary, and his insane machinations. This pits the web slinger, Jameson, and a band of human rebels against the gene splicing overlord and his Knights of Wundagore. Um, Complicating matters further are the stowaway Venom and Carnage, laying the groundwork for extraplanetary chaos. And then, of course, you see there's some of the stills of the opening of that series.
Yeah.
Um,
Goodnight Spoon says yes. The Guardians of the Galaxy ripped off a boring '90s series.
yeah. And just so we let people know that we do try to acknowledge them where we can. Yep. So this poo poo on you. Uh, Hold on. I hate it when this happens. Now I gotta try to. I don't know where this thermostat's getting its temperature from. Does it feel like 80 degrees over here?
Okay, is this yet another tectonic phobia cartoon? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm not sure what that one word means. Elk.
I hate it when this happens.
What? You got a
Well,
video game?
no, ungroup. Okay. I accidentally grouped it, and it's like and sometimes when I accidentally and stuff like that happens, it's a little bit hard to figure out exactly how to undo the damage, as it were. So,
He says
anyways,
German
but
phobic.
now that I finally got that taken care of, anyways, back to the article here. In the shadow of Batman Beyond over on the WB and the bow to of its predecessor, Spider-Man, Unlimited rode coattails and took the wall crawler in a direction, quote unquote, counter to what we know. It might have been a desperate and jarring left turn, but the show still found an adequate audience. That wasn't enough for the network, who canceled it and turned the season finale into a series end with an unresolved cliffhanger. As we've learned, that's no obstacle. Enough time has passed to foment a revisit, and Unlimited is perfect fodder. Moreover, if Spider-Man 98 ever materializes, a second season of Spider-Man Unlimited would be an appropriate continuation of that when it's all said and done. Nightman. Oh, I didn't
I
even
remember
know.
yeah,
This is a
this
live
is
action version, a live action show, but I didn't
yeah,
realize. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
and it's based on a comic. I'm not sure who it's put out by originally. It'll probably say in the article, but I did read a couple of his comics. So
Yeah, I had heard of the show, but but I didn't know anything about it. I personally never got into.
got into it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. All right. Oops. All right. So, anyways, okay. Hear me out on this one. First, reboots don't have to be limited to mainline Marvel, and second, there's no rule saying they absolutely must be animated. It's not a deal breaker, though, if they all have to be. Why? Nightman might be the most well known character from the Ultraverse due to mostly to the syndicated live action series produced by Glenn Larson of Knight Rider fame. However, his first turn came in an episode of the Ultra Force cartoon, another one of the many superhero tunes that only got a one season shot.
Well, I am going to have to disagree. He did get a show, but I don't think it was. Yeah, I don't think he's still not well known just because of it. I don't think most normies would have heard of it. Probably Ultra Force, maybe cartoon before that. At least people that are grown up now, anyways. Because I doubt kids would have been able to get to watch this, where kids would have been able to watch the Ultra Force cartoon, and many adults wouldn't have paid attention to this unless they were comic fans like me.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, as we continue on here, so the story of jazz musician Johnny Domino and the lightning strike on a cable car that gave him the power to sense evil and predict its next move can be retold in either format. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Once again, lightning giving somebody superpowers.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, animation might be preferable. It would broaden the scope of the series without breaking the bank. They could introduce more characters from the Malibu Comics Vault and the God Wheel. Members of Ultra Force would be topping that list. So Malibu was, I guess, the home of the Nightman universe, I guess.
Yes.
On the other hand, anyone familiar with that defunct imprint knows there are a number of characters modern Hollywood creatives, in parentheses so-called, would love to shove down our throats from the uber feminist Topaz and trans woman Mantra to the gay speedster sidekick Turbocharge. That's a risk, but ideally, those names will be passed over in favor of someone more awesome like Rune or, in parentheses, God Wheel Willing, Lord Pumpkin. It's high time those two made a comeback on our screens.
Sure, okay.
Lord Pumpkin sounds kind of interesting.
He definitely sounds like a Halloween villain.
Yeah. Kind of in the same vein as Scarecrow, right?
Yeah.
Right. Gargoyles. Now, for me, Gargoyles, I like Gargoyles. Gargoyles was a
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very fun cartoon to watch.
I would definitely love to see this, and especially if you could get the voice actors of some of them, like
The
Xanados.
only
I think
problem is, as I understand, a lot of these voice actors, I believe, are fairly, strong, very hard left. These are
Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
these same voice actors would basically be willing to push the narratives.
yeah. Well, what I mean is, let's see, Xanados, or I forget. I'm probably butchering his name. But the
That
rich,
you're talking about Jonathan Frakes, who voiced him.
yeah, and then of course Demona was done by
Marina Sirtis.
Sirtis, and then one of the cybernetic one was done by Michael Dorn.
Right.
Puck was done by Brent Spiner.
Mm. You're talking about the Star Trek actors who were involved.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the Next Generation actors, they also did have some actors lend their voice
Oh,
from other series, from the other Star Trek series too.
yeah. There was other ones too. Those are the ones I can remember offhand. Goodnight Spoon says Coldstone. Yeah. Um, Elk says I think he's trying to say ripped out of cartoons in the 90s. I was anti nerd. I missed out on good stuff like Gargoyles. Yeah. Well, I would suggest if you haven't, go back and watch it. It is good.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's not ripped. I dipped out of cartoons in the 90s.
Yeah. Coldstone. Yep. So, anyways, for the no-brainer entry, I give you the Stone by Day Defenders of the Night. Quote, frozen in stone by a magic spell for 1,000 years, unquote. As the dulcet tones of Keith David pointed out, Goliath, who voiced by David, and his clan
Oh,
awaken in 1994 New York. Now, in the lore there, the legend of the gargoyles, as it were, is that they would be stoned by day and then would basically turn to flesh at night and would basically defend whatever castle they happen to belong to. So
yeah.
that was once
Hey,
betrayed by humans. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
just Elk says, yeah, I watched Gargoyles, and Goodnight Spoon says, definitely a watch if you appreciate Shakespeare. Warriors by Night.
Yeah. Well, I also like a lot of the lore that they play. You get a lot of Shakespearean stuff in there. You get a lot of history in there. Just a lot of elements in it that were very interesting in terms of.
Oh yeah, and Janeway was in some episodes too. She
Yeah,
was
yeah. She was Queen
one of the
Titania.
god.
She
Yeah,
was Queen Titania, as well as being the mother of Fox. She was Fox's mother as well.
yeah.
So,
Uh,
and that was Kate Mulgrew, who was the actress's name.
yeah. And Elk says most are stoned at night.
Yeah. All right. So, anyway,
Anyways,
oh,
I was
one
just
thing.
saying on with the next paragraph. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Let me just check the time real quick. I just wondering.
We're at 35.
All right. Yeah, I told you this would probably take a good chunk of time. Once betrayed by humans in the Middle Ages, they find out not much has changed about human nature as they encounter new challenges and some old enemies. Luckily, they make a few allies along the way who prove not all people are bad. Gargoyles was Disney's Hail Mary play in the 90s, a time when they mostly made lighthearted series out of their big time summer movies. Um, that was until they looked at what the competitors did with Batman, X Men, and Ninja Turtles and said, quote, anything you can do, we can do better.
Anything you can do, we can do better.
Yeah, well, prior to Gargoyles, yeah, they were relying on a lot of their legacy characters and and putting them into like at that time modern experiences. You had like Chippendales Rescue Rangers, Tailspin,
Yeah,
Bonkers, Goof Troop, all that. Darkwing Duck,
yeah.
DuckTales. So, anyways, I'd argue they achieved that at least in the first two seasons. For quite a while, Gargoyles was able to match any similar show in action, lore, set pieces, character design, acting, writing, and not to mention animation style. The quality fell off with the Goliath Chronicles when they lined it up, and out of cut a fair share of corners production wise. But everybody remembers the show for what it was when it began. The sequel comes, um, the sequel comics, not Dynamites, which Disney could draw from, reflect that in their increased blood, violence, and other mature content. A new series could easily skew PG or TV 14 in this day and age, or less inhibited streaming platforms, if so inclined. Don't worry, I'd stay away from the gay Lexington business and Elisa Mata shagging Goliath. Seriously, why is that a thing?
Well,
Okay,
I don't know why the first one of those two is a thing, but the second one I can
well,
see being
as
a
I
thing.
yeah okay with the first one as I had read in the past, I did see something about that a while back. I guess in the comics, they decided to turn Lexington. Now Lexington, if you remember, he was
The
the
tech.
well, kind of the tan gold gargoyle who was kind of the tech whiz. All right, he was
Yeah.
the tech whiz of the group. Probably the youngest of the gargoyles. Um, and I think in the comics they made him gay.
Well, I don't know about that, but the second one I could see happening because Maza and Goliath sort of had somewhat of a romantic relationship.
Yeah, there was a there was they hinted at it throughout the entire series that Elisa and Goliath may have had a bit of a romantic fling for each other, much I think in part to Damona's chagrin.
Yeah. Uh, Goodnight Spoon says 1,000 years ago, superstition and the sword ruled. It was a time of darkness. It was a time of fear. It was 2024.
Trudeau was prime minister.
Goodnight Spoon says he was green. So he thinks Lexington was green. Um, yeah, maybe he was an off green or pukish green. I'm not sure how to describe Lexington colored gold.
It was green. It would have been more like olive green then, because I didn't
Yeah,
see. I think actually Broadway was more green than Lexington.
yeah. There was definitely a lot of yellow in the green for sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, continuing on, Captain America, and I guess this is from episode 7, Bright Eyes of the X-Men series. So, where Spider-Man Unlimited didn't get enough time, a proposed Captain America animated series set in the 40s never got off the ground. Marvel's bankruptcy didn't help, but that's all in the past, and now there should be no obstruction. All impediments, especially the binding DEI production checklist, are artificial as long as the showrunner has a clear vision. Fidelity to the source material wouldn't hurt either. It all begins with Steve Rogers, whose backstory is academic at this point, a pillar of the MCU. He is canonically, quote unquote, the first Avenger, which is invariably more than a moniker or a marketing ploy contrived by filmmakers um, self conscious about their citizenship. Yeah. I was trying to think if that was true, and I guess that is true because I wasn't sure because Namor wasn't an event, was never an Avenger, right?
No, no, at least not
'Cause
at
I know
that point.
Namor predates Cap. We both know that Namor predates Captain America. So
Yeah, but I think they were.
maybe I was thinking that he was an Avenger because of the um, Marvel superheroes cartoons in the late '60s. So,
Yeah, well, they were both operated during obviously the 1940s. Cap, of course, was around. He was a hero, but they were both part of the Defenders, I believe, or was Captain America part of the Defenders? The Avengers technically weren't a thing. I think I'm not sure whether Namor's ever been on the Avengers in modern day or not.
yeah,
I can't remember.
yeah. But
And
anyway,
Good Night Spoon said Broadway is blue. We'll look that up maybe later if we have the time. The gargoyles.
yeah. It's a title earned by the combined tour de force of Chris Evans' acclaimed portrayal and Cap's status as one of the most prominent comic characters of all time. He is effectively and unwaveringly irreplaceable, as Disney is beginning to find out. You can't just pass the shield to Falcon or John Walker and call him Captain America, quote unquote, considering that if Brave New World turns out to be the disaster everybody is expecting it, wouldn't be a bad idea for Disney to pivot by fast tracking this idea, as desperate as that would come across.
Yeah, and the thing that I have to say to that, of course, it's a bad idea, and they should have known because in the comics, everybody I think reacted back fairly badly when Falcon got the thing, which they took it from. So it's like, what do you? If it's happening, this happens in the comics. What do you expect to happen when you do it in on the big screen?
Yeah, so and then I guess Broadway is an obese, heavy set gargoyle with teal skin and forest green
No,
webbing in his wings. Um, he wears dark blue loincloth held by a black belt. Um, and unlike the other gargoyles, from Gargoyles Wiki, um, now mind you,
Okay.
he was voiced by Bill Fagerbakke, who is known as the younger assistant coach on Coach with Craig Nelson and late great Jerry Van
Yeah,
Dyke.
teal, of course, is blue with a little bit of green in it.
Mm-hmm. Lexington is the smallest and presumably the youngest gargoyle of the clan. He has olive color, yeah, as I said, olive colored and a hairless head, um, and pierced wings that allow him to wear a dark blue loincloth. Um, Same source, of course. And I never got Silver Surfer, although I watched his cartoon. I just don't relate to a planet-eating dude. Well, Silver Surfer himself was not the planet-eating dude. It was Galactus. He was a herald of Galactus.
Yeah, he went and found the planets for him to eat. Of course, he negated because of the Fantastic Four on that deal because he had to deal with him to save his own planet, which sort of makes sense.
Yeah. Patrick Star. According to okay, so Silver Surfer now. Silver Surfer. In terms of missed opportunities and things never given a fair chance due to circumstances beyond their control, Fox's ill-fated Silver Surfer series might be the uncrowned king. Marvel's infamous Chapter 11 bankruptcy of the 90s had a lot of casualties. The mid-season replacement that retold the saga of Norman Rad and his sacrifices to save two worlds, including his own, was one. However, its mix of computer and traditional animation that was ahead of its time didn't go unappreciated. The show found new life in re-airings and is on Disney Plus to this day. It never went away, fortunately.
Alk says Silver Surfer was replaced by a wisecracking teenage skater girl. Okay.
All right. Silver Surfer has a loyal following and is the kind of gamble Disney could have pulled off back then for longer than half a season. With little effort, they had a hand in it. Those were the days we sadly don't live in anymore, like I said earlier. Instead, it's 2024, and the risk they're taking is on a Shala Ball surfer um, no one asked for. I don't understand that when Rad isn't even the mainstream pop culture staple he could be, a plus series um, with the short-lived cartoon as a starting point might go a long way to fix that error. It wouldn't be the worst thing they can give us. The mouse already burned that bridge.
Yeah. Good Night Spoon says I also don't get the planet eating thing for Silver Surfer or Transformers.
Yeah.
I get
Well,
it for
again,
Transformers.
the actual planet eaters once again are Galactus and Unicron. You know,
Yeah, but Unicron is a Transformer technically.
yeah. So, um, respectively there. So that's the article tonight.
That was number 5. Isn't there any more? Was that the end of the article?
Now that was the end of the article. Yeah.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah.
And then
So
if there's anything that eats planets, can you can be certain I don't care and won't watch.
yeah. So, anyways, so yeah. So anyways, so now what we'll do, of course, we'll get ready to move on to um wrestling
Just
wrap up
get
here. So we do have some things to take note of course. So on the WWE side of it, it was announced today that WWE is planning some live events in Japan this summer. On three days in July 25th, 26th, and 27th. They'll be going over to Japan to pull on to do some shows over there. Um, let's see, and also they're having more of their main talent roster do some temporary work. You know, do some work on going down to NXT, their developmental show, to do some work. With Shayna Baszler and the Good Brothers going down the show. Good Brothers attacked their tag team champions last night on the NXT program. When the tag team champions, the NXT tag team champions said they didn't want to defend the titles against anybody outside of NXT. So let's see how short we can make the wrestling wrap up game on. Well, yeah, I mean, not much in the way of WWE news, but unicorns didn't exist. And for tonight's AEW show, of course, Dynamite, as this is the go home Dynamite heading into this weekend's pay-per-view, and they'll have the Rampage show on Friday night, and then Collision on Saturday in Vegas. So Double or Nothing coming up on Sunday, and in preparation for Double or Nothing, these are the following matches tonight that will be taking place on AEW Dynamite. International champion Roderick Strong teams with Trent Beretta to take on their respective opponents of Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy. Will Ospreay, of course, will be challenging Strong for the international title at Double or Nothing, and then Orange Cassidy taking on his former best friend stablemate Trent Beretta this Sunday as well. In a basically number one contender three-way eliminator match for the FTW title to determine who will challenge Chris Jericho at this Sunday's Double or Nothing pay-per-view for the FTW title. You have former champ Hook, the two-time champ Hook, taking on Kazuchika Shibata and Brian Keith. Konosuke Takeshita of the Don Callis family will be taking on Matt Sydal. In a non-title match, AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland takes on the Patriarchy's Nick Wayne. Heading into, as he prepares for his upcoming match against Edge for the TNT title in the barbed wire steel cage match, Malachi Black of the House of Black will be taking on Kyle O'Reilly. Women's World Champion Toni Storm teams with their protege Mariah May take on the Outcast of Harley Cameron and Saraya. And then also Bryan Danielson is going to be answering the challenge of Satnam Singh, who's going to be looking to collect on the bounty placed on Danielson from the Young Bucks and furthering weakening Team AEW in the Anarchy in the Arena match. So we got that, and then we do have some results from last night's NWA Power episode, as they did just have the Crockett Cup event this past Saturday, but we won't see results as they plan on showing those over the next few weeks on the CW. But for last night's Power results, we got the opening match on a rematch, in a women's tag team rematch. We saw Tiffany Nieves and Reika Tahaka even the score with Ruthie J and La Rosa Negra. In a non-title match, NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion Joe Alonzo defeated Damian Fenrir in just under 5 minutes. And then the final two matches were Crockett Cup first round matches as Knox and Murdoch, last year's winner and the number 2 seed this year, defeating the miserably faithful duo of Gags the Gimp and Salvation. And in the main event of the night, the team of Looks at Kill, and this is one of 2 intergender teams that is participating in this year's tournament, as Brian Idol and Natalia Markova representing NWA territory FTW/NWA Chicago, defeating the team of Jack Dane and Tim Storm via DQ. as Tim Storm apparently snapped and applied the claw hold to Natalia Markova when she grabbed hold of the rope to try to get him to break the hold. He would not break the hold at the count of 5, and therefore Kane and Storm were disqualified in what considered to be by many a very bizarre in a very bizarre move there. Tim Storm apparently snapped. So now that's all we have. Byron, Rick, you still here, right?
Yes, I am. I was just grabbing myself something to drink, but I kept the earphone in.
Okay.
But Goodnight Spoon, Unicron. Of course, Unicron doesn't exist. He is a character in a comic book or in a movie, an animated movie at that.
Yeah.
And he says, "My bad. Optimus is the one who knocks." I do get that reference. I'm just not sure from where. Goodnight Spoon.
Yeah.
And he says, "I'm on 50."
Anyway, go ahead, Rick.
He said, Goodnight Spoon says he's on 50 cc's of hopium. Full circle. Fenrir Fire? Nighthawk Warrior? Okay, I'm not sure what you're referring to about those people. Optimus knocks on the door of the human heart. By Rick. Goodnight Spoon says by and Meth. Welcome back, Rick. I said Unicron. Unicorn. Not Unicron. I know. I'm playing with you. And it depends on who you ask. The mythical unicorns, I don't think existed, but
yeah,
I think there was a real unicorn that wasn't a horse with a horn on.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've commented on before about the Transformers series, the G1 Transformers series, the one that we obviously grew up on, Rick, from back in the 80s, there was just the impact that Optimus Prime, why his death hit so hard for so many people when he died in the movie, because in a way he was kind of like a surrogate father figure. I talked about that before. Not that I want to get into too deep with that now, but anyways, with all that being said, now we're through the wrestling wrap up as well. So now it's a good time to look back at this day in Nietzsche history, as today is Wednesday, May the 22nd, 2022. So why don't we take a look back at this day? Nietzsche history. So first off, I'm going to head back 30 years ago. As on this date, 30 years ago, back in 1994, the WWE would hold its, I'm sorry, not WWE, WCW rather, would hold its Slamboree event on this date back in 1993 from the Philadelphia Civic Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The main event saw Sting defeat Vader to win the vacant WCW International World Heavyweight Championship in a continuation of a feud of one of what was considered one of wrestling's hottest feuds back in 19.
Uh-oh. Did he freeze?
Also, in a Broad Street bully match for the WCW World Tag Team titles, Cactus Jack and Kevin Sullivan defeated the Nasty Boys to become new champions. Ric Flair retained the WCW World Heavyweight Championship over Barry Windham. Dustin Rhodes defeated Bunkhouse Buck in a bull rope match. Let's see. In a Legends match, Terry Funk and Tully Blanchard went to a double DQ. Steve Austin retained the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship over Johnny B. Bad. So, and then
the $1 Million Man was in wrestling.
What was that?
$6 Million Man. You said Steve Austin, so I jokingly said the $6 Million Man was in wrestling.
No, This Steve Austin was most fans know him more from his WWE work as Stone Cold Steve Austin. But even before that, he actually had a pretty good career going for him as Stunning Steve Austin.
Yeah, I half knew that. I was, of course, like I said, joking, just making the thing. And Good Night Spoon says Sting from the Police. No, the wrestler Sting. And Good Night Spoon also said Rick trolled me. You should time him out, Mike. That's the digital equivalent of assault. Probably.
Bye, Mike. Welcome back, Mike.
It's because you froze for a second.
Oh. Okay, I didn't even know I froze, but thank you for that, for telling me at least. All right, so anyways, now 1994 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. As also on this date in 1994 was actually the first cancellation of Rugrats. So Rugrats was initially canceled in 1994 before being revived 2 years later and continuing until 2004 on Nickelodeon. So on this date, back in 1994, was the first cancellation of Rugrats on this date back in 1994.
And Good Night Spoon says, "Can you imagine Sting from the Police in a karaoke battle with Darth Vader?" And Elk says, "I'm trying to imagine Sting."
Yeah. Well, we're of course talking about the pro wrestler Sting, not the singer Sting.
They know they're just trolling you. They're teasing you, Mike.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways,
Especially
now
Good Night Spoon.
moving ahead to 2013. On this day in 2013, and they pull it up here.
Oh, you do. Good Night Spoon says, "You don't have to imagine. You can see him in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels."
All right. So, anyways, all right. So, on this date in 2013, 11 years ago today, the 20th issue of Volume 2 of All Star Western went on sale on this date back in 2013. It sold for $3.99 with 40 pages, with the Jonah Hex story, Gold Standard, and Stormwatch, Lost City of Gold. Of course, this is Volume 2, as I said, because they did have a Volume 1 of All Star Western back in the 50s.
I was just going to ask that. Isn't this a second volume?
At the height of the the Western
comics
Western push at the time in the 50s there. And then, of course, in 2011, after Infinite Crisis, they started bringing a lot of the Golden Age titles back for a while. This one apparently went, I think, something like 35 issues, I believe. But anyways, on this date, back in 2013, 11 years ago today, the 20th issue of the second volume of All Star Western went on sale on this date back in 2013. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Hopefully we don't start having problems. Summertime usually does start stuff up. But anyways.
We do have 3 more comments. Good Night Spoon says, "Jonah Hex is my favorite DC character with a terrible film adaptation." And then I wonder what Darth Vader's heavy breathing would sound like during a certain.
Okay.
No, he's not.
Is Thanos? Probably a lot like his No from episode 3. Oh boy.
Yeah, I like the Jonah Hex movie, but I think they didn't have to give him any sort of powers. Jonah Hex isn't supposed to have powers, but it was a good movie. It was a bit off, obviously, from the thing. It's not as bad as Catwoman, in my opinion, or some other movies.
Movie I mean, yeah. All right. So with that, well, before we head out, of course, Rick, did you want to do an outro before I wrap things up?
Here, I'll just put a link to my channel in the thing. And yeah, just if anybody wants to subscribe that doesn't know about me, go check out my channel and hopefully you like what you see and subscribe. And then Good Night Spoon says Jonah Hex movie was Wild Wild West without the fun.
All right. Well, I thank everybody for being here. So we're back here tomorrow with more news. Of course, tomorrow we'll be looking at Indie Comic Showcase from Bleeding Fool. And then Friday, I'll have Apex with me as we'll be going back to, continuing our look to comics that went on sale in February 1940. This week we'll be looking at comics that went on sale from Prize Comics Volume 1, Issue 2, in which we'll be looking at, some of the features will include Power Nelson, Jupiter the Master Magician, Black Owl, and Storm Curtis.
And Good Night Spoon would like to know, can I promote stuff too?
Well, I would need to make you. I would need to obviously make you
A mod.
a mod. But
let them think about it. I think I can vouch for them, but obviously, let you think about it. For a couple days or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, with that, let's promote. All right. So, anyways, I thank you guys for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.